IndiGlobal Media Network.
The theme being fostering student leadership through transformational teaching. We would have three panelists in this discussion, for which I would like to call upon Shri Abhilek Puttagunta, Managing Director, Meluha International School. I would also like to call upon Mr. Kishore Manohar, Director, Apollo Shine Foundation. And then I would like to call upon Ms. Meetu Nag, Principal, IndiGlobal International School. And of course, the moderator for this panel, Shri Shrikant Sinha, CEO, Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, Government of Telangana.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, a pleasure for me to be here amongst you today. Of course, the previous moderator was talking about NEP and a lot of things, and I agree with him on a lot of fronts, because today, unfortunately, it's rote learning, right? And I don't blame anyone else, but if you look at ourselves itself, right? When our kids are growing up, what do we tell them? Eat this, this is good for you. Right? Couple of years, they enter the school. What do you tell them? Learn this by heart because this is going to be a test, an oral test that is happening tomorrow. Right? We take it a bit further. In college, it said, please study this because, and leave this one. This has come last year in the examination. This will not come. Study this one. This is important from an examination point of view. Right? And that's where we are today. Which also brings us to the topic of today, which is student leadership and how our teachers, how our schools transforming education over there. Which is a very, very important thing, because if we need to shift the paradigm, if we want to implement NEP in the true letter and spirit, it is important for us to radically change the way we interact and work. As you kill creativity, we need to encourage creativity, but that can only happen if the students themselves take the lead. And I'm not talking about the traditional system of school leadership, which is head boy, head girl, school captain, etc. We are only either bracketing them if they are good in sports or they are good in marks, right? And we make them the head boy, head girl, etc. And that's where our thing is. If we talk about leadership, it is someone who can influence, who can motivate, who can guide others to achieve their goals. It's a leader, right? That's the definition of a leader. How are we implementing this in schools? And I have these wonderful three panelists with me. So probably what I would like to, without any further ado, and we will engage later on, start with, asking all of them to introduce themselves and their organization, and then we'll get into the panel. So ma'am, can I start with you first, being the lady on the panel?
Good evening, everyone. I think it's early evening. I'm Meetu Nag, Principal, IndiGlobal International, and having heard two of our speakers already speak here, Ms. Hema ma'am and Ashish sir, you know where the leadership stands and where we go, what we want to achieve, and what are the goals set. So our leadership qualities not just percolate in the management with the teachers, but we also ensure that it percolates down to the students, seeing that every student standing there is a leader in himself. He does not have that fear of facing the audience, neither the shyness or the fear of taking up initiatives. So that's where the leadership qualities are ensured, that it goes down to the child or the children who are there in school. So as said by the speaker in the beginning, the child is our focus and we put him on top of the pyramid. And that's how we want to take the leadership ahead. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Abhilek. I'm the Managing Director for Meluha International School. From a leadership standpoint, yes, as ma'am rightly put forward, child is the epitome. That's the center of the whole trying to educate themselves is the a part of the journey that we are all in. And to actually do that, how does teaching ideally help achieve that is the whole process that we are trying to achieve, whether that be NEP, whether that be an IB curriculum, whether that be an IGCSE or an international curriculum. How are we able to do that inside the classroom and outside the classroom, wherein the end goal is to have certain level of leadership skills that will ideally give them a lifelong learning schema to ideally start off with. So that is ideally what we are also working for. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here, particularly because I'm the non-educator on this panel. It's great, and I would like to thank the organizers for making this happen. My name is Kishore. I'm with the Apollo Shine Foundation. We are a school health program, and we run health initiatives, 360-degree health initiatives in schools and colleges across the country, largely in Tamil Nadu and parts of Karnataka, Delhi. We are just entering Hyderabad now, so we're here to say hello to all of you. When we talk about leadership, for us as a healthcare organization, and for me particularly, I always remember that I'm still in school. I went to Don Bosco and I never left. And I know that it can be quite tiring to listen to lectures all the time, or even to be part of workshops sometimes. We believe in longitudinal dissemination of information, and creating health ambassadors is what we are trying to do. I'd like to build on the point that Sir was talking about of having your investiture ceremonies where you have head boys and you have your school pupil leaders. We have been installing health secretaries in schools, but we're doing that across the board. We're doing that in the 11th, in the 9th, in the 7th, and the 5th. And they all report to the school nurse who has a set of KRAs for them. So in that way, they all become champions of health and are able to pass on health education to their classmates, to their friends, and hopefully to their family and neighborhoods as well.
Oh, wonderful. So essentially, we are more of ensuring that our students are more healthier so that they've got a healthy body as well as a healthy mind, and then take it forward. Interesting. And of course, if you look at traditional education systems, I think it was automatically built in. A lot of time was spent on this playgrounds, etc., where the physical strength, the mental agility, everything was being built. Of course, a lot of schools today say that, oh, we have changed our curriculum. We give projects to our students. But unfortunately, when you give projects to students, it's not the students who do it. It's a homework for the parents. And that's typically what happens most of the time. So instead of the student themselves doing things, it moves over there. So let me move on to Alec, to you again, on this point over here, and help me understand what kind of teaching methodologies are being used by the faculty members in the classrooms to ensure that they are able to inculcate the skills of leadership in the students.
So in terms of what is happening right now in the bigger landscape of events, is we're still very stuck up with the whole idea of I am the teacher and you're all my listeners, you don't get to ask any questions kind of a story. So that is in a lot of ways kind of killing what we are trying to achieve, which is student leadership. And from a foundational curriculum standpoint, we're talking about curriculum, we're talking about pedagogy, IB says one thing, talking about learner profiles, IGCSE ideally brings about global perspective, so to speak, and CBSE ideally brings about moral education and all of the other elements as well, right from primary education till grade 11 and grade 12. But in the process, the teachers need to be trained in terms of how do I eventually become a facilitator? How do I ask the right set of questions for actually making the classroom become more engaging? As Mr. Ashish in the previous session has rightly put forward, when I'm not being given any of the references from a textbook standpoint or an evidence from a textbook standpoint, what do I ideally do? The base foundation is kind of still not 100% robust as such. So from a classroom standpoint, if you're asking the right questions, the right research skills are basically implemented to the students, And once the right research skills are basically implanted as such, they're able to question all of these elements. And that's the first level of ideally having that leadership in their own arms, so to speak. And from a communication standpoint, all of our CBSE teachers, educators, everybody understands that there is something called LSRW skills. So why do we always talk about listening, speaking, reading, and writing? Because that is where we are ideally able to take all of the information in and ideally put all of this information forward for the other person to actually read and understand and comprehend. So these are small elements on a day-to-day basis that are ideally providing those leadership qualities for the student. We are doing 60-70% of it. What we are not doing, what we are not 100% able to achieve is creating engagement in the classroom, making sure there is right questions being asked, teachers with the right perspectives to be brought forward. So if you're able to provide more training to the teachers by bringing other perspectives into their life so that the questions can be a little bit more different. So that way, the students are ideally going towards a different research ideology. And that's where the curriculum kind of expands.
Sure. Interesting point. In fact, I still remember there was this joke going around on WhatsApp a couple of days ago. I think it was probably from India or must be from Pakistan, one of these two areas. But the student calls up his 10th standard teacher and says, I'm your student, you had taught me A plus B whole square, right? And he said, where can it be used? So the teacher says, no, it cannot be used anywhere. He said, even if I'm jobless, I can't use it. He said, no, it cannot be used. He said, if it cannot be used, then why did you call my parents in the school when I didn't know how to solve it? If it was not going to impact my life, then what was the point of doing it? And that's where probably, taking from the point that you also mentioned, that it's important to help the teachers itself. And that's where I think the role of mentors plays a very, very huge important thing. So, Dr. Nag, let's move to you, where you can bring in the role of mentors and how does it actually impact these students in the schools?
When we talk about mentors, I think when we talk about students, right from the nursery to any grade that they go to, the teacher becomes their ideal. You will see them emulating the teachers. You will see them following every word that the teacher has said. You will see them enacting the role, what the teacher has done in the classroom, going back home. I think that's basically for the smaller children. And I think that is where the foundation is supposed to be laid. And for that, the teacher needs to be, or the mentor needs to, showcase or demonstrate those activities or those kind of mannerisms which she wants her children to follow. Teaching needs an attitude. Teachers need to have an attitude. They need to have a passion towards what they're doing. For they know that this is the next generation who's going to follow them throughout. And for that, in case she wants, even if she's tidying up her table at the end of the day, I think the students follow it. Okay, it's time to tidy up. So they are, keeping the books back into their bags and they're getting ready as the teacher is getting ready. So this is how they follow the teacher step by step. And when it comes to leadership, I think it is the teacher. When they see the teacher being fair, being just, being empathetic, being sympathetic, showing concern, leading, taking initiatives, I think that is where the children tend to follow. When the teacher gives that little hug to the child knows, okay, this is where I'm safe. And that is when the trust between the teacher and the child develops. And that is where you start molding the child the way you want to. And for that, the mentor needs to be prepared first. The teachers need to take that passion ahead to see that these little things are put in the small little brains and hearts of the child to make them empathetic, sympathetic leaders for tomorrow, which is the basic foundation of leadership. If the leader is not empathetic, does not understand the concerns of the people following, I don't think he goes on or she goes on to become a good leader. So to set those values, I think the mentors need to be trained, need to be taught, and need to demonstrate what she needs of those students. So that is where we look at training these mentors taking those personal development trainings where they can, set those examples for the children to follow. And where Indic is concerned, or where our school is concerned, we ensure that every child is put or given the chance to take up the leadership roles. The reins of leadership are given into the hands of the children for them to carry it ahead. And we are there to guide them, handhold them. And that is where those traits of leadership are ingrained into them right from this age of nursery. Hands-on activities, their projects like we said, team activities. Of course, there are other things which most of the schools follow, like sports, games, whatever we, conduct at the school, where we can, inculcate these habits of leadership. But for me, where leadership is concerned, it is about making the child observant of what is around them. All right? Leadership skills can be learned not just within the classrooms, it can be learned even when you look at a vendor when he's, selling or making that, his people work. There's a construction work maybe going on. It's how the head mason is getting the work carried out by the rest 7 of them working there. I think leadership qualities are, can be taken in from there as well. He must not be as literate as what we are, but then the way he conducts the leadership qualities has its own values in place. So I think those are small little instances where the children can be made to be more observant around the real world happenings and then pick up these qualities of leadership from the environment around. So that's what we try inculcating in the child.
Sure. A follow-up question to that is, but before he moves into leadership, shouldn't he know what are his own strengths or her own strengths? And how does he be part of the society that he is in or she is in?
Definitely. When we, assess the child or when we put the child, again, the role of a mentor does not start or end with just the leadership qualities or just teaching the child. The child needs to hone on to the inherent talents that he has, the strengths that he has, and then work on towards those strengths. Like we just talked about, every child may not be made or wants to become an engineer or a doctor. So what is it that the child is looking at? So, this is where you try to, understand the uniqueness of that particular child and then take him towards a direction, channelize the child towards a direction to which he wants to reach. So I think that is where we try to find out or assess where the child wants to go. And I think that is the exact role of a mentor when it comes to a classroom. Because every child is not same, every child is not similar. So we have to look into the uniqueness of that particular child and see that we draw strength or let him draw strength from that particular uniqueness and move ahead.
Sure. Alec, let me just come back to you for a minute. Now, when we talk about, and she spoke about, of course, leadership, etc. Now, how many schools actually do cover, and she spoke about, should be aware? Now, today, if you talk about it, unfortunately, we did not leave the earth in the right fashion for our, next generation. So how many students are aware about green, about sustainability, etc.? And let's talk about your school, for example. And what do you do to achieve leadership over there and that? And when I'm talking about leaders, I'm not talking about leaders who go and ask for votes. I'm talking about who can influence decisions.
As transparent as they can possibly be. They are more aware about nature than what we are.
Very good.
So that is absolutely the truth. So if you put them near the cows or give them a 3-acre or a 4-acre plantation and then give them a set of seeds, they'll ideally plant it. Irrespective of we following up for their academics, they will ideally go there and then actually look at what sort of nutrients are missing in the soil, from what is organic, what is not organic, and what is the different level of vitamins that are needed in the soil for vegetables versus fruits and everything of that sort, which seems like rocket science for me when I actually started this journey like 4 years ago. But the actual problem from a schooling standpoint is that we run schools between 8:30 and 2:30. You still have to have 6-8 periods of all of the classes that are necessary, and you still have to fit this ecosystem, which is extremely hard. Uh, can we come up with, so from an NEP standpoint, it talks about collaboration between schools. So is there a school region that we can ideally collaborate and then have all 10 schools come to a common grid and then have a special session on a Saturday or on a Sunday or once every month? So all of those sessions, all of those collaborations will actually make a lot of difference is what we genuinely feel.
Fantastic. Let me ask the audience itself. Can I see a show of hands? How many schools, and I believe mostly educators are over here, how many schools are actually talking about green, sustainable, etc., or even SDGs? Okay, first, the easier one, green and sustainable. Okay, couple of them, okay. And how about SDGs? Oh, fantastic, good. So I think we've got a very aware kind of a population. So let me move to you with a very different kind of a question. In schools, the whole thing is about competing and coming first, right? But when you talk about leadership, you also need to understand about win-win situations, right? So how do you see this play out in the schools? What is your experience through the states you have been in, or you know, when you talk about medical education or health education, how does it work?
That's a very interesting question, very pertinent actually to what we do with the Apollo Shine Foundation. So when we started this, right, we actually set out to battle. That's our battle. As Apollo Hospitals, we've been seeing younger people come into the hospitals. It's not something that is encouraging. It's in fact quite scary. And the lifestyle diseases can only be addressed either through awareness or through prevention, through early detection, let me say, right? So that's when we said, okay, if we're going to schools, how do we get across to them? We said, okay, let us take this Trojan horse method, if you excuse the Greek analogy, but we will take this Trojan horse method, set up this health center, which will look after emergencies and health in schools. So that's on a day-to-day basis. We've triaged things, we've broken it down, color-coded, we have that happening. But our nurses are trained to educate before they medicate. They ask a few questions that point in the direction of some behavior, some kind of habits that children are using, which because their children are not patients, right? They're fine, they're fit, they were all fine before Apollo Shine, and hopefully they'll be better with us. And that's what we do. So it's a Trojan health education program that's out there in schools. For us, this is a definition of a win-win situation because the parents have peace of mind that, okay, when I send my precious little one to school, should anything happen, the worst thing a parent can hear is your daughter threw up in school today or your son fell down, right? You have to drop everything, rush across Hyderabad traffic and get there. But when you know that, okay, there is a reputable, let me not just say Apollo Shine, but any reputed healthcare provider on campus taking care of your children, that's peace of mind. So that's there. The children have access to healthcare. That means they slowly win, or rather we win their confidence and prevent them from going to the internet for solutions. So a headache does not mean you have to meet a neurologist, right? You could just drink water and wait for 10 minutes and it could go away. So we are also able to address over-medication as an issue. These are the things that children learn. For many people, the first time you enter a hospital is in times of duress. You don't know how it works, you're stressed out, there are a million things going on there, it's scary. If you could understand that these are not scary places, this is how they work, you have the confidence to go there, talk to a doctor, pick up the phone, get on the internet, speak to the right people for problems, that's great for you. So it's a win for the students as well. And the schools also have reputable healthcare providers on campus. This is something that they can even charge for, rather than bearing the cost themselves, bearing the risks themselves. So it's a benefit for the schools as well. So in this way, everybody is seeing some kind of win. And that's how we see Shine playing out, if that's something.
Just one quick question over here. COVID, how did your students tide over that thing?
It's more the schools actually that played a really great role. I think we were with a couple of schools, Oak Ridge in fact, in Hyderabad as well. There were tight protocols. We stayed in touch with the school administration through this period. We were following the instructions, very clear instructions given on the government websites. We used only the Indian government directives because there was, of course, everybody was an expert on COVID within 3 months of it happening. So we used the government directives, we passed that on to the schools, we set tight protocols, we did safety audits, we did campus audits, we ensured that classrooms were well spaced in the event that they had to actually come to school. And I think through that method, it really made a difference. It was a lot about panic and fear when children had to come back to schools. When we did webinars, and one of the good things about COVID actually was webinars. The challenge of taking healthcare professionals to every single school for different topics, different age groups, was really daunting. Thanks to webinars, we are able to now reach thousands of parents, thousands of teachers, get messaging across to them effectively, and then it's up to them to take it forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Any questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am. You could introduce yourself and you could direct your question to any panelist or in general.
Yeah, I'm Anjali Razdan. I'm one of the directors of Meluha International School. My boss is sitting on the platform, Mr. Abhilek. So the question is to you, sir.
Please.
So basically you're in the skills education. I mean, that's what we all are looking forward to. So we want skills to be introduced into education. But what is the government doing about it? I mean, why are you all not a little more proactive or reactive to get skills education into our systems, into our DNA in the schools, apart from whatever else is happening out here?
Sure. I think, so along with whatever I was introduced, I wear a very small hat as the skill task force member for AVGC, which is animation, visual effects, gaming and comics. And over there, what we have said is with Media and Entertainment Sector Skill Council, we have said people and students, right from the 6th grade onwards, we will do a junior MECAT exam, right? And I'm not saying that they will become animator or visual effects artists, right after 6th, but you will guide them slowly into that direction. And that's where you get skills. Now, we were talking about NEP. NEP is the first initiative where we have recognized that, yes, things have to be done with vocational skills coming into picture, right? So definitely things are moving, maybe slow, but it is moving in that direction itself. And today, skills is the most important thing because people don't employ you for knowing the definition of a screwdriver, but you should know how to use one. And that's definitely there. So I think it's important for us to ensure that in the schools also, today, it was shocking for me, when my daughter was in a school in Bangalore, one of the topmost schools, Baldwin's over there, and there was a parent-teachers meeting happening over there with parents and teachers are discussing that for BPO don't require maths. Why do you want to teach it, right? So I think it's important for both the stakeholders to understand this. The purpose that you give projects to the students is so that they can hone their skills. We as parents end up doing it, right? So it is not translating over there. So skills definitely needs to be part of it. And the sooner we get them on that bandwagon, the better it is. So definitely NEP is talking about it. NCRT has already started working on that, right? So I think it's early days, but yes, we should be seeing a huge change moving ahead. See, today, why we have to train whatever we are doing, right, on English skills or whatever else, is because schools are not able to provide that inputs. And I'm not talking about schools such as, all of you sitting over here, but I'm talking about schools in general, right? And that's where, there has to be a homogeneous kind of a thing, but definitely school. And we'll be happy to, I'm sure Narasimha Reddy Garu also would have mentioned in the morning, we are happy to work with schools and train the faculty members, etc., skill them, etc. Because today, AI, ML, etc. has become a tool. And everyone has to be aware about it. So that's what's important. So absolutely point taken, yes. Skills are a must and we have to bring it down to school level. Sure.
Looking forward, sir.
Sure, ma'am. Any other questions? No? So a quick fire round, right? 3 words.
Excuse me, can I just make a comment here?
Sure, please.
So my name is Deepika Rao, I'm the principal for Oak Ridge. And it was very interesting to hear this discussion and what you just said. To my mind and my experience, I could be wrong, because we've heard diverse opinions from saying that kids shouldn't be given phones at all to us talking about bots in a classroom. And there are different educators with different kinds of mindsets. It's all about diversity. But I'm just thinking that we're talking about skills, and you spoke about vocations. Are skills only essential to building vocational opportunities, or do we see skills as something becoming such an intrinsic part of an individual that it keeps them adaptable and keeps them viable in the job market?
Sure.
Because we are living in a volatile world.
No, absolutely. Absolutely agree with you. In fact, the reason is today, if you look at NCVET, they talk about vocational and skills in the same breath itself,
Yeah.
right? But today, if you look at it, skills is not only a vocational skill. After doing a skilling program, you could also move into research. See, for good music, you need 2 things. One is good musicians, which are people who are skilled, but you also need the Bachs and the Beethovens who will be creating that piece of music which these people will play,
Yes.
right? So both have to be skilled, but the researcher has to be more skilled. He should be aware about the rules and the norms, etc., right? So that's where it is. So it's not only skills, which is for employability, it is
Yes.
skill with
It's-
employability and beyond.
Yes, it should be skills, but
Absolutely.
to remain viable,
Yes, of
to
course.
always be able to kind of adapt
course.
yourself.
Absolutely. She would like to add something, please.
I would like to add, like when you see the learning outcomes in the book, when it comes to the skills subject, skill-based subject that are given, I think it's mentioned over there, the child either goes on to become, in case he's taking a fashion studies, the child goes on either to become a tailor maybe, or goes on to land up in the fashion school at London, Paris. So this is, I think, where the definition is where skills are concerned. I think the training that is given can be both to make them vocationally employed or to take it further ahead where, where their education or their, passion is concerned.
No,
So-
my question was not related to subject-specific skills. Like you've taken the example of fashion technology,
Right.
mathematics also has certain skills to
Right.
it. My question was more about umbrella skills. I mean, we do talk about this word 21st century skills, but
Right.
how do we see the umbrella skills that should be applicable to all students? I talk from that perspective, not
Sure.
from subject
Sure.
specific.
I'm just giving an example where the subject specific is concerned.
So let me just try to talk about my philosophy for this. So for me, skills earlier used to be a T, where you knew a lot of things, but you had your domain expertise in one single area, right? Fortunately, it is moving to a pie, right? Where you have your 21st century skills, your transferable skills, etc., coming as the second leg of the pie, right? Higher order thinking skills, teamwork, all these kind of things will come over here, along with the subdomain. And on the top of the pie, you would have your AI, ML, IoT, technology, etc. coming in. And that's across the board. So that's how skilling is actually also moving. So that's there. 3 quick words. What will you call success in school leadership? 3 words only. Quick fire round. Let me start with you.
Being self-reflective.
Okay. Self-reflective, that's 2. Anything else? Oh, B also is 1 word. Okay. Go ahead. Yes?
Moving ahead, strategizing and reconstructing.
Okay. Sure. Moving to you.
I'd say confidence, expressiveness, and empathy.
Fantastic. I think no need to sum up the discussions. What was said in the last, I think, sums it all up. So I'd like to thank the organizers for providing me with an opportunity to orchestrate this session with such marvelous speakers. And thank you, IndiGlobal, for this. And of course, a big round of applause to my wonderful panelists.
Thank you, panelists, for such a lovely last panel discussion. I would like Shri Shrikant Sinha to please come forward to give away the mementos to our panelists. I would like to call Shri Abhilek Puttagunta, Managing Director, Meluha International School, to please come forward to receive the memento. I would further like to call upon Ms. Neetu Nag, Principal, IndiGlobal International School. I would like to hear some applauses, please. I would like to call upon Mr. Kishore Manohar, Director, Apollo Shine Foundation. And now I would like to call upon Mr. Sudhir Gautam, Founder, CEO and Editor-in-Chief, IndiGlobal Media, to give away memento of appreciation for our special guest speaker, Shri Shrikant Sinha, CEO, Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, Government of Telangana.
IndiGlobal Media Network, taking innovation, collaboration and growth to the forefront.